Yeah. Okay, the Jentry Podcast. I know that you will be loving it. We here to break it down so that you start to understand your local government. Who are the leaders? Time to get active, do something about it. Dealing with jobs, the workforce, and affordable housing. Motivate and inspire. Elevate, take it higher. For the next generation. Knowledge is power for your community. Giving you the info that you really need. Time to make a change and a difference. Tune in, don't miss it. It's the Jentry. The Jentry Podcast. The Jentry Podcast. Making a change, switching it up.
This is the Jentry Future Leaders Panel. I'm Jonathan Mason, your host, and the host of the Jentry Podcast, where I bring incredible guests like those that you're about to see here today. But for this, we're really trying to get young people aware and interested in careers in public service. So today we have a mayor, we have a state rep, and we have a city manager. And I don't want to take their shine, so I'll let them introduce themselves. So Mayor Blackwell, could you start for us, please?
My name is Annette Blackwell. I'm the mayor of the city of Maple Heights, which is an entering suburb, which is about 15 minutes from the central city. And in about 2 weeks, I will be starting my 10th year or the second year of my third term. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mayor Blackwell. Rep Cockley, would you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for having us today. I'm really excited to be here. As you know, I'm really passionate about getting youth involved in public service. So I'm really excited. I'm State Representative Christine Cockley from Columbus, Ohio, House District 6. And I think those are all the things to kick off, right?
That's perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much. And yes, your passion, if anybody saw the podcast, your passion for getting young people involved is truly there. So thank you for joining us. And absolutely last, but definitely not least, Rose Beverly, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I agree with Representative Cockley. This is such a great opportunity to get any word we can out to the youth about how important it is to be present in the scene for government. So my name is Rose Beverly. I am the city manager for Paris, Texas, originally from Idaho, and I've been traveling all over the country being the city manager because that's kind of how it works. So really happy to be with you guys today.
Thank you so much, Rose. Now, I know your story very well, and you were a trailblazer in everything that you do. Can you please share what was it like and what got you into the public service? And then share a little bit about your day-to-day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So definitely the non-traditional route to city government. I actually started in county government, moved back to my hometown, a little sleepy town in Idaho during the crash of 2007. I was a realtor. I was doing very well in the metropolitan area. And when things came tumbling down around me, I decided to go home and take my kids to the, more laid back life that I got to grow up in and let them experience that. And I bought a gas station and I started to realize that my town was dying. And I think the people that live there probably did not realize it, kind of like the frog in the pot. So I ended up joining all these groups, trying to figure out economic development and anything I could, the chamber, all kinds of things, trying to figure out how to get ahead of it or maybe turn it around, and didn't get any traction. So I ended up running for county commissioner and did that for almost 6 years and got really involved at a state level, getting to work with the state legislature and lobbying on behalf of small counties. And I ended up being the president of the Idaho Association of Counties. And then I ended up going to Washington, D.C. some, and I met city and county managers. Did not even know that this was a career field, but I was excited because I'm like, wait, I can do this work that I really enjoy and not have to run for re-election. So bless you, Mayor Blackwell and Representative Cockley. I understand how that works. So I decided to go in this direction and started out in Minnesota. I've worked there, and I worked for 3 years recently in Kentucky, and now I'm here in Texas. Definitely non-traditional. My educational background is in psychology, and before that, of course, I was an entrepreneur a lot. And when I moved back to Idaho or to my small town, I had a business there. So it's kind of a well-rounded, and it does help me in my day-to-day here. And my day to day looks like a lot of meetings. People want to meet with the city manager and tell me how they feel about everything. And then I have altogether about 16 people that answer directly to me. So that's a lot. We have about 300 employees here. So and the council, of course, I work for them. And so there's 7 of them and I have to meet with them a lot. So I'm just pulled in a lot of different directions. What I really like about it though, is that I'm never bored. A lot of problem solving. I get to know a lot about a lot of different topics, everything from public works to the library to police and fire. I have to know a lot about a lot of things. And I know that the other 2 ladies on this podcast will understand all of that. So that's kind of what it looks like for me. I try to schedule time to answer emails, but at the end of the day, I never get to them all, but I do my best.
Thank you, Rose, and wow, quite the journey. I love that you went back and said, because I found that so interesting that you were an entrepreneur in the community, so you got it from the private side, and you started to notice things that maybe other people in the city didn't. But you didn't, for lack of a better word, you didn't cry or whine about it. You really rolled up your sleeves. And got active in the community. And I know that resonates with the young people. I'd like to give a shout out. I said it before we got started, but we had over 700 students respond to our survey. And one of the things that you mentioned later was no day looks the same. And that was something that a lot of the young people kind of had a view of what city and state government looks like, but the variability of the day is very interesting. So thank you for sharing that. Representative Cockley, could you share why you got into public service and a little bit about your day to day, please?
Absolutely. So, my background, I came to Columbus, Ohio for Ohio State. Like many others, I never left. So, I became a 2-time graduate from Ohio State's John Glenn College of Public Affairs. I always say that I have a generalist background, meaning I've done a lot of different things, and that incorporates 2 years of working in the private sector. I worked in the service industry for about 7 years, but a bulk of my work has been in the public sector. So during my time at Ohio State, that's where I really fell in love and truly understood that a career in public service was something that was important to me. It's not just public service isn't just something that I do for the fun of it to help the community or add something to my resume. It's something that genuinely helps me get through my day and a reason why I am still here. It's public service. And so a little bit about that. I originally started interning with U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown when I was in college. After that, I ended up working on his 2018 reelection campaign, went to get my master's, fast forward, did 2 years in the private sector. And finally, I found myself in the nonprofit sector. And that's kind of when I looked around and I was like, nonprofits do a lot of the work the government is failing to do. Why is the government failing to do these things? And simultaneously, I took a look at the state house and I realized that I wanted somebody in the state house that truly represented me, someone who knows what it's like to live with a disability, somebody who lives paycheck to paycheck, someone who is struggling to become a first-time homeowner. And so that's ultimately why I decided to run. I ended up winning a 7-way primary, went on to the general, and now I'm in my first term. And I'm gearing up for re-election next year. Our petitions are actually due in February. So the idea of the day-to-day never looks the same. Completely understand. The idea of never quite getting to all of our emails, also completely understand. And that's truly what my day is. My day-to-day is completely different every day. I do have a little bit of guidance in my schedule because of the way the state house is set up right now. So I'm typically in committee on Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes Thursday. We have session on Wednesdays. And when I'm downtown, those 3 days of the week, we also pack in meetings the entire day. Those are also great opportunities for people to come in and have State House advocacy days, which is one of my favorite parts. So a lot of meetings with stakeholders, a lot of advocacy days as well. And then on Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's when I'm typically in the district or doing something in Central Ohio to help really connect with my community, continue doing events, town halls, volunteer events, that type of thing.
Rep Cockley, thank you so much. The double Ohio State, or the Ohio State, I love that. And then one of the things that I can totally attest to, I am lucky enough to follow you on Instagram. You are in the community. That is one thing I can definitely attest to. And I love what you spoke of. And believe it or not, that was one of the top things that came up in our survey was representation. Unfortunately, or fortunately, and we're changing it now, a lot of young people feel like they aren't represented in local government and in state government. So the fact that that was something that actually pushed you to run, I think is very connected to the youth that are looking up to you. So thank you for that. And last, but again, definitely not least, I'll start with this. Mayor Blackwell and I had a hour plus long podcast, and I still feel like I was just scratching the surface for everything that she's done. Mayor Blackwell, if you could please share how you got into public service and a little bit about your day to day, please.
Sure, thank you. So inspiring to hear from both Rose and Christine. Obviously, Christine, my daughter is a Buckeye, so we're Buckeye parents, so a little disappointed last night. And my daughter was a 2020 graduate, did not get to walk across the stage. So you can imagine the tears. So mom had to plan a parade of the fire station police to come down, and we did that for kids, even graduating from preschool. We didn't want to rob them of that experience. You know, what I think is different, what I'm hearing is that we didn't come the traditional way and to these offices, you know, Rose owning a gas station in her town, and you working for Sherrod Brown, who's running again, who of course is my senator here in Cuyahoga County. Because the belief is that for the young people listening, that there's one way to get into these spaces, and forever it's been one route. So you serve on a committee, maybe it's Civil Service Commission, Planning and Zoning, maybe do some volunteer work. You work on a levy or a campaign, and then you run for city council. You may do 1 or 2 terms. It used to be 2 years here, but now it's 4 years. So Rose, I mean, Christine, every 2 years, I just can't imagine. It's so hard and so draining to run a campaign. But so you sit on council, maybe 2 terms, and then you're council president, and then you're mayor. Well, I passed 6 lanes of traffic, never was an elected official. I came to this office having worked in the private sector. I worked at an accounting firm. Um, I also, and as a property tax, a senior property tax analyst doing assessment appeals. And before that, I spent 12 years at a hospital managing a pulmonary office and a physician executive, and I spent some time in banking. And so while raising 3 kids. So I'm a mom as well. We also own a small business. We bought a veterans hall here in Maple Heights just to rent out for places. We don't have a recreational center so people can have an affordable event, some event space there. Coming from, and I was in one of the big 4 accounting firms. I worked in all 88 counties as a senior property tax analyst, working with huge commercial shopping center owners and developers as we filed tax complaints at the county level through the Board of Revision, but then if it did not, we were not successful, we went to the Board of Tax Appeals. But my everyday is I am the CEO, and Rose knows that. There were 2 cities in Cuyahoga County that had the city manager form, but now there's only 1 because the one city manager was recently recalled in a very, very public, just horrible manner. It was just really bad. So we only have the 1. And so I do know there's a strong manager, a strong city council, weak mayor. I am strong mayor, weak council. I have an administration. I supervise over almost 200 employees, and that's police, fire, and the service department. Jailers, as I have a jail. So I got 9 unions, believe it or not. And Maple Heights is about 25,000 people. And what's been challenging is we were a city, like many of you may have heard of, certainly Christine, East Cleveland, one of the poor cities in Cuyahoga County. We were in fiscal emergency when I took office in 16. However, my only introduction to local government and being in this space was I was the school levy chairperson. Because of my property tax background, I was asked to be the chairperson for our school levy, which was successful. From there, I was asked by the school to run a parent skill building programming, which was a skill building program designed by a Jewish doctor for African American parents and other other races. Whipping being a big part of that. No spanking zone. Why we discipline the way we do to help parents to really be better managers in their home. That raised my profile. Plus, all three of my kids went to public school. My daughter was band, played the flute. My son was a football player. I was a Friday night mom. Everybody kind of knew me as one of the kids' moms. And then, or the person knocked on the door for the levy, or the lady that they rented the hall from, right? Or the lady that taught the parenting program. So people felt like they knew me. It was the mayor that I preceded was 9. He had cancer, had beat cancer, was not going to run again. He tapped me to run. I did run for city council in 2013 at his assistance, but I lost. I did win the primary, but I didn't win the general. And then 2 years later, he asked me to run for mayor. Did not think I'd win because I had just lost for council. But all of those glimpses at me and people getting to see me and hearing about my background, strong business background. I won. I was a police chief. A police captain, 2 council people, and a returning Air Force hero. I beat all of them in my first race with almost 70% of the votes. And I have run 2 other elections, and I run again in 2027.
Mayor Blackwell. Wow. Now you see why we had that hour plus long conversation. And I feel like I'm still learning from the breadth of service that you've given. Again, something that rings true in what you all said. And Mayor Blackwell, thank you for teasing it out. You were truly in the community, to use your words. People felt like they knew you just from seeing you and you being active. And I think that gets to the heart of why we're doing what we're doing. It's because when people see people that are active and are almost called to run, and in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons, that's the type of public service that we want to promote. So I'd like to thank you all again, and we will get into some general questions. So for all the viewers out there, we did the survey and we asked a lot of questions to kind of hear what people wanted to ask about. So we synthesized those into a couple questions for everybody. And then we also will later get into some direct questions from students and young people. So Rep. Cockley, I'll go with you first. The first question is, many students worry they'll never be able to afford a home or find stable work in their community. What's one thing state government can realistically do right now to make communities more affordable and livable for the next generation?
Great question. As I highlighted in my intro, navigating becoming a first-time homeowner was something that was important to me. And so I recognize that affordability needs to be the number one focus for all elected officials. Right now, costs are going up and dollars are not going as far. So many people are one accident or medical emergency away from financial ruin. And so in Ohio, I think this is predominantly due to government negligence. So, for example, our state legislature is gutting local government funds while also giving state dollars to millionaires for football stadiums. And so I think first and foremost, we need to make sure that our tax dollars are being used effectively. I think we also need to consider that while a 4-year college is absolutely a great pathway to financial freedom, it should not be the only way. I work with a lot of people in labor, and they are chomping at the bit for young people to go into the trades. And these are jobs that are going to be building America's future. And so we need more people in these critical roles. So first, making sure that our tax dollars are being used effectively. Second, making sure that there's opportunities towards financial freedom for young people that don't only incorporate doing a 4-year college program. And then third, I think homeownership is something that, I mean, it's the number one way to build wealth in the United States. And we have a serious problem with the housing market. So we need to support programs that help first-time homebuyers with down payment assistance and other concrete steps that help young adults enter the housing markets while we also work to build up the housing market.
Wow, that was great. And yes, utilizing taxpayer dollars effectively. I think that that is the first one.
People are always shocked when they learn that we are giving, well, it's not even state dollars, it's unclaimed funds to a football stadium. I think it's something that we should talk about because that is incredibly irresponsible.
We
Mayor
want
Blackwell can probably talk to that too.
I did see the some nodding heads. I want to call it out, but yes, like we want, as I'm a member of a community too, I want my leaders to be effective stewards of taxpayer dollars, like not just direct. Like when I think of stewardship, I think that's somebody that treats them as precious and is owning them and utilizing them for the good of the people that are providing them. So I think that is incredible, and I'm glad that you brought that out. Another thing, I am big. I have had a great opportunity to go to university, and I love my university. I'm proud of where I went. But we need alternative pathways. And we're seeing now that those alternative pathways are creating lifestyles that some of us that went the other route wish we had. So I definitely agree with that. So thank you. And Mayor Blackwell, I'm actually going to you next. So you may be able to touch on a little bit of that and a little bit of this with this question, which is,
Sure.
what does housing affordability look like across Maple Heights right now? And what approaches have been most effective for expanding affordable housing?
That is a really loaded question. I will tell you, Christine, right next door in the other room, Sugar Sanders is on the TV because he's downtown, as you know, playing in the snow. And 15 minutes from here, just two exits away, the new stadium with all of the money that Columbus will be built, right? This dome stadium. So I can definitely relate to that when I have a 26% poverty rate in this city. Maple Heights has been a challenging city. We were not a city that was in receivership. We were declared in fiscal emergency. 2013 was, 2014 fiscal watch, which meant our revenues exceeded our income. And then in 2015, we were in fiscal emergency, which it would be bankruptcy. We couldn't pay our bills. And yet I left my good paying job in corporate America, cushy corporate America, to come here and to do this work. And people say, you're losing your mind. Why would you do that? Because like Christine and Rose saw a need. For me, it's a ministry. I'm a woman of great faith, and I do believe that we're all born to purposeful lives. Some of us are what Shadora Sanders is doing next door. You know, he was born to be a football greatness, or, you know, I went to Catholic school, you know, vocation of serving, uh, giving your life to God and serving others. And so I think the core of what I do is really enhancing the lives of the people that live here. And that's almost 25,000 people. But I'm here to tell you, shockingly, we have not achieved affordable housing in Maple Heights. And the reason we haven't achieved affordable housing in Maple Heights is because in 2008, which led to the fiscal emergency the city suffered, there's three significant sources of revenue for our city. And that is, of course, the income tax, followed by property tax, which is all over the place right now here in Ohio. But we only get about 16%. It funds schools and parks primarily and other libraries. So we get a small portion of that. But here in the city where I have a 26 poverty rate, I have $11 million property tax delinquency. So always trying to get people to pay their taxes when I got to choose between milk and taxes. And this sexennial, this last 6-year reappraisal, Maple Heights saw a 59% increase in valuation. 9%. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go up 59%, but property values are rising. And so to draw the picture, when I became mayor in 16, the median home value was $37,000. Today, it's 160. So Christine said that it is people are it's almost impossible to afford a home. And so we were in the Wall Street Journal, the city of Maple Heights was likened to Ferguson, Missouri. This city was historically Italian, Polish, and Slovenian, and now 72% Black, which led the way for me, a Black woman. I'm the first Black person and the first woman to become mayor in the city's 100-year history. Primarily looks like me, right? And so the challenges that come with poverty and disinvestment and white flight and companies who would rather there's a couple small utopias in these 88 counties, would rather move to utopia. They leave behind these destroyed cities. And it takes people who say, you know what, I'll do it. And you raise your hand. So what I've tried to do is to work with small developers, because I don't get the big developers, but they're trying to make a profit. These are minority developments, so they're taking a lot of I've got 30 new homes going up, but they're infill housing, a vacant lot. So you got the street and you got the missing teeth because the 2008 foreclosure tore them down. And so these lots go for 2,000, but they're building 200, 300,000 homes because the market sales, the sales approach, the market sales supports that, and they want to make money. So it's been very difficult to get people to build affordable housing because the return on their investment's not there. There are some incentives. We do a 15-year tax abatement on improvements, so it helps that. And then I did do something in 2020. I sit on the land bank, the Cuyahoga County Land Bank. That's kind of land banks are all over Ohio. They're unique to Ohio, but they're spreading beyond Ohio. Christine would know that. I'm not sure if they have anything in Texas. I think it was Paris, Texas, that Rose is the city manager of. But it helps us repurpose land. Bring valuation, make it a tax producing asset as it appreciates. So we did do a modular home project with the land bank where you build the basement foundation and a company out of Southern Ohio brings in it in 2 spaces on a huge truck. It might as well have been a parade that day. People had lawn chairs and hats as they brought in the house and set it on the foundations. And I made sure it was in a part of the city called President's Row, only place Black people could live. It's called President's Row because they're named after presidents, Adams and Jefferson. And so, of course, they live closest to the railroad, the most undesirable part of the city. They were put over by the railroad. So to bring justice and to fix something that's been wrong, I put the homes there. They sold at market value, though, 190 and 191. So the land bank didn't want to continue because the profit wasn't there. So because of the valuation, the way the valuation process, and there's 3 approaches to value. Of course, there's the sales comparison approach for real estate, cost approach for new construction, and of course, sales and income and use for new income producing property shopping centers. The sales support a significant value, and taxes go up, and no one's willing to build something at a loss. It's not entrepreneur, it's not capitalist to build a bunch of affordable housing. Because I'm an entering suburb and in the city, the Cuyahoga has 59 individual cities, we compete. And so where does the down payment assistance dollars come from? We've worked with banks, we've worked with some nonprofits, but because of the reduction of local government fund, because of the $3 million deficit that the Cuyahoga County has, because of the new jail that the county is building, it leaves communities like myself out. So we have not achieved it. I do have a small agreement with a local CDC to take homes that go through state tax forfeiture sale to try to rehab. But even rehab is still over $100,000 because of the cost of materials. It's complex, and I don't want to confuse anyone. Please know that even cities like Maple Heights, I have not been able to achieve affordable housing because of the open fair market value, the need for people to make money, and the cost of materials.
Wow. Mayor Blackwell, first and foremost, thank you for your candor. I can hear it in your voice. That is somebody that is trying. And it sounds like you haven't left any stones unturned to make it happen. But I appreciate you stating that even in Maple Heights, in an area where you stated some of the population and where their financial standing are, you still can't create that the dream, which is an affordable house for everyone that they can at least start in and then maybe move to a different house. So I appreciate your candor. I know I wish I had a better answer, but I'm sure if we all had an answer on this call right now, we'd be on a beach somewhere. But I appreciate you sharing what it actually looks like from the top of the city to know that you're trying so much, but you still aren't able to be there. So thank you for that, Mayor Blackwell. And then Rose, these questions are again based on the thoughts and the mind share of the survey participants. So this is what they actually want to know. So Texas is growing faster than almost anywhere. How is this affecting housing in smaller cities like Paris? And what barriers do you face when trying to build more affordable or attainable housing, or even do things like infill development?
Well, that is a great question. And for most cities in Texas, especially in the metro areas, Austin, Houston, Dallas, all of those, that question makes a lot of sense. They're growing like crazy and they cannot keep up. There's not enough housing stock. There's not enough land. You can't get the infrastructure in the ground fast enough. You can't get the treatment plants ready for the water or the sewer fast enough. It's very challenging. But Paris, Texas is more like the situation that Mayor Blackwell just explained. We are so much alike, Mayor. I mean, I can't even tell you. It's including 2007 starting where, while Rose moved back to, because I lost everything when the whole downfall happened of real estate to my small town, Paris was going through similar issues and they made some decisions that sealed the fate for the city managers sitting here today and all the residents of this city to be in the situation they're in financially. We're 2 hours away from Dallas-ish. I mean, we're an hour away from another bigger town. We're far enough away that the metro has not hit Paris. And we have blight and we're headed towards financial ruin. It's really difficult. Diversity here at higher levels and the people living on the sides of towns that are challenged feel left out and forgotten. And the blight there is something I've never seen ever in my life. Every other house needs torn down and there are people there trying to take good care of their houses, the ones that are there and they care. And then 2 houses next door need to be torn down. And, it's just, I mean, this town is really struggling. So that growth that Texas is feeling, that's not happening here yet. We anticipate that it will. And what we do have right now is we have some builders coming in here from the metro area. I feel like, they're sort of looking to take advantage of us because we're not in the situation. They don't feel like we should be picky. It's kind of like, well, you're welcome. We're here. Now do everything so that we can help you with some growth. And I'm just not in the kind of city manager that's okay with that. So I'm like, welcome. And you're going to have to meet some higher standards. And they haven't been really pleased with that. But I think if we're going to do it right. I know what that looks like. I have experience from other places to bring here. And we're going to hold our standards high, whether we are in desperate need of it or not. And so that's what we're dealing with. And it's everything that Mayor Blackwell just explained. It's expensive for them to come. To put a house up isn't cheap. Everybody expects to make, I think, higher profits than even before. So, and I'm saying before all this crazy growth happened, I think now they've been able to, the building costs are up, but also I think their expectations are up. And cities are having to provide more than we ever had. And so, we're looking to partner with all those things. And then a lot like what was described earlier, we have a lot of blighted areas. So we're working on infill projects, abatements for rehabbing homes, and then abatements for people who will put new homes in infill areas that are targeted. So we're working on all of those projects as well. I understand, having been from places that were growing more like what you talked about in the question, or more like what in the question, the challenges that those places are facing with that growth. It's just as stressful, just in a different way, because people are seeing their communities, when you're talking about like the Dallas area, change, and the growth is hard to get your hands on. And the people who live there are like, this is not the community that I grew up in. It's changing, and cities just have to do their best to cope with it. And so it was a great question. I hope I did my best to answer it.
I think you did amazingly. And the one thing that really stuck out to me is you're working with builders, and I've seen it in my day job and the work that I do with counties. Yes, they come in and they want the world, but then the standard isn't necessarily there. And it's like, if you want us to meet you halfway, you have to meet us halfway with that standard. But I love that you are standing firm, and you understand that if you're going to do it, you're going to do it correctly. And that is something that I know your community can and should appreciate. So you answer that question perfectly in my book. So thank you. And Christine, we're going to go back to you for our last general question. As municipalities try to attract and keep young talent, what steps is your region taking to expand good paying jobs, apprenticeships, and or early career roles for young people?
Before I answer this, I just have to say, I love that you, Jonathan, are like the hype man, and I feel like I need you with me all the time. So, like, if my ADHD is like going off and I'm having trouble focusing, I feel like you'd be the type of person that's like, no, you're doing a great job. You're so focused. You've got this. And so I just love the positive affirmations that you give. It is awesome. And it reminded me why I had such a wonderful experience doing the first podcast with you and why I'm happy to be here today. So never lose that. So I guess this is kind of twofold for me. One thing that we've done and one thing that we are doing. As you know, and definitely Mayor Blackwell knows, in Central Ohio, Columbus specifically is one of the fastest growing workforces in the Midwest. And I'm personally really excited about this growth. With this growth, though, we need to make sure that we're investing in the people and the community that make it possible. So one thing that we've done in Columbus, we recently overhauled the zoning code, which is going to make it easier and more effective to build, thus driving prices down for home buyers. So I think that's one realistic thing that we've done recently that should be helpful. And then part two, something that we're currently doing that's in the works. I serve on the Technology and Innovation Committee in the State House, and we are thinking creatively about how to support young talent, especially now that AI has become a major talking point. For better or worse, we have to address it. So a big part of that is making sure that AI is not replacing workers, especially entry-level jobs. One piece of legislation that I'm working on makes it so therapists can only use AI for administrative purposes, not for diagnosing. And I think that's something that we can and should expand on. I personally am hopeful that AI can expand our abilities, but we need to make sure we're implementing it effectively and safely so it doesn't harm people and it doesn't replace a lot of those entry-level jobs or jobs where the personal aspect is at the heart of it.
I think that is so important. And I didn't know where you were going to go with that question. I knew the committee that you sat on, but that's important. Like, when you think of supporting young people in jobs, I almost feel like I messed up there. Yeah, you have to talk about artificial intelligence because that is, I get it. Like, there are two sides of that coin, for better or for worse. But if we look at what could happen on the negative side, who is going to be most effective? It's going to be young people, entry level work. So, wow, I feel a little bit backwards for not thinking about that. But that is so important to know that somebody in the position that you're in is forward thinking enough to make sure that before it even happens, you're already creating pathways to make sure that young people are protected. So thank you so much for that. Now we'll shift. Now these questions, so if anything is too tough, you can't blame me. These are our student questions, and I'll state their name. I will not give their last name for obvious reasons, but we will email the answers and the replay to these students so they can hopefully reach out to you maybe even after. But this is Alyssa from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm interested in parks and youth programs. What does a real career path look like in these areas, and how do people move up while keeping a good work-life balance?
Alyssa from Cleveland. She's interested in parks. So we do have an award-winning park system, the Metro Park System. I don't think people realize how beautiful Ohio is and how beautiful their parks are, and they're free. It's a great career to be interested in, but I'm going to be real about it. It's not the path achieved in municipal government. It is best achieved working in a nonprofit, some environmental organization. The Metro Park System has great internships during the summer and summer employment. You have to get close to the park system and those that are engaged. These are arborists, these are environmentalists, these people are passionate. And you just don't walk into it. You're invited into it by getting close to the work, demonstrating a love for uh, the environmental. I remember taking a class. Environmental stewardship is important in the ecosystem. Understanding what the ecosystem. I did a whole class on ecosystem and college, understanding God and community and responsibility. And so it comes more as an invitation, and you align yourself with the people that are in that space. And so I would strongly suggest to Alyssa to join a science club, get involved in STEM. When the metro parks put out their internship and job opportunities, usually as early as March, to find out what's available, even being an ambassador at the zoo. I mean, that's environmental. There's a huge ecosystem there. Reading as much as she can. There's the water stewardship program that we're a part of, understanding, and they collect tadpoles. I've had over 200 trees planted in Maple Heights. Maple Heights is called Maple Heights because it's got maple trees, but a lot of them have been taken down because of disease. But we got a grant from a couple organizations with a tree canopy. They still say I don't have enough tree canopy. A city of color, we have a lot of health disparities, asthma being number one, and COPD. So clean air and trees are very important. There is a group called Power Clean Future Ohio, PCFO, that we're part of, that's doing a whole lot around clean air initiatives, as well as NOPEC, our energy provider, which is the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council. They have a lot of programs, but to get into this career, it is a specialty career. It's kind of elite. You've got to line up with the right people, but there's all this pre-work because there's a small group of people in this field. As far as a work-life balance happens later in your career, not while you're building it. It's a hustle. You can't even think about work-life balance. You're going to miss some parties. You're going to miss your family reunion. You're going to miss your best friend's birthday party. You may miss your girlfriend's bridal shower because work-life balance happens later after you've built and you've established yourself and you've done the work. Because you're establishing yourself, you learn the job, you're meeting new people, there are places you need to be to have that relationship, to be to get your application, the recommendation for the internship or the summer job. And you have to be very socially active with people that you normally are not hanging with because they're not in the space you're trying to get into. You want to get close to the people that will help make that happen, and then leverage those relationships for the opportunity. And you will move quickly because it is such an elite group. And you guys, I'm very honest, it's not been a place of color. It's not been a place for people of color. One of the VPs of the park system I worked with at the firm, Deloitte, and so she is now in that space. I can probably count a handful of people. We have not been in the park system. We've not been in the energy business. We've not been in the ecosystem business, energy and solar. We're doing that through the opportunities that Christine talked about here in Ohio. And that's that workforce development. We have to steer these people into those careers and have them do the work so people see that we belong there, they can do the work, and then you have to do the work outside of the opportunity so that you're very, very much prepared. But it is not something that's achieved in local government and is not something, and you're not going to have work-life balance. You're going to work your behind off to get into this space that was not built for us and we're not in.
I expect nothing less, Mayor Blackwell. You always shoot it to me straight, and I'm sure Alyssa can appreciate that. That is something that, believe it or not, comes up quite often in the surveys, work-life balance. That is, I think it may be a generational thing. The generation, I guess, under me very much appreciates and wants that work-life balance. But I get it. What you said rings true. You get that later in your career, but if you want to especially break into an industry that it sounds like you may even need to come at it from a different way, and then you can later achieve that work-life balance. So thank you for, again, candor keeps coming up. Mayor Blackwell, I truly appreciate it because that's what young people need. They need the real information. So now I will switch to ladies and gentlemen that are viewers. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I am doing my best. But Ayla from DeSoto, Texas. If someone wants a government career that supports long-term stability and family benefits, are there certain departments or roles in Texas that offer the clearest path for advancement?
That is such a great question. And I would say there's room for advancement in just about any place. And I'll go back to, I'm going to pause for 1 second and just say how much I'm enjoying listening to Representative Cockley and Mayor Blackwell. You guys are amazing. I am learning things from you, even just sitting here today. And every time I hear you talk, I just want to raise the roof. But I've really been enjoying you so much. So thank you. But I think it's a lot of hard work. And I will say, this is steady work. a lot of the work that we do, I mean, we will have AI coming into some of the things, but we're so customer service oriented and going out with boots on the ground that this is a steady career to get into. And we do have good benefits and there is good retirement built in, but it is hard work. I will say that whether it's the fire department or the police department or public works or water treatment, the parks department, you're going to get out of it what you come in and what you're willing to put into it. Especially, and I will plug the smaller communities here. And I know that Mayor Blackwell can attest to this, but if you're willing to get in and stick it out in a smaller community, you can start in just about any place and move your way up. Police department, for example, right now, we've had trouble getting policemen to stay in Paris because we have a hard time competing with those around us with a different type of tax base than we have. So which has led to our financial struggles. But if you come into the Paris Police Department and you work hard and you keep your nose to the grind and you care, you're going to move up because there's room for advancement. And that will lead you somewhere a lot faster than in a bigger community where you're one of a lot of great people trying to get the same place. So I would put a plug in big time if you want to advance or going to a smaller community and working your way up. And then if you do get up there and you want to move around, it'll be easier to lateral over to a bigger community if that's what you want to do, which I never hope happens. I hope you love where you're at in a smaller community so much because we lose so much of our talent to the bigger communities. If you want more responsibility and advancement, start small. I mean, I started small. My first city manager was a city administrator job, which we understand the form of government, but similar responsibilities was in a town of 2,500 people. You just move your way up. You got to put in your time. And so you're going to get out of it what you're willing to put in.
Rose, thank you. I think that was great. And I hope that Ayla understands it's the opportunity that would come from working in a smaller city. You maybe the pay isn't commensurate to what you get in Paris, Texas versus New York City, like say on the police force, but the opportunity. There may be less people that want to be police chief that are willing to stick it out and do the hard work. So that was a great tease out, and it makes sense. Like when I speak to people in public service all the time, and it does seem like the people in the smaller communities, one, are doing more because you have to do more with less but that opportunity again brings a vaster and more well-rounded skill set because you're able to do so many different things, and the advancement is there. So Rose, thank you so much for that. Now I will bounce back to Mayor Blackwell, and I will come back, Christina, in 1 second. And again, Montreal, I believe is how to pronounce the name, from Akron. What does a long-term career look like in public service in Ohio? And how do you know if this field is right for you?
What does it look like? It looks like what my colleague Rose just said. Trying on a couple positions. I'm really big on internships and volunteer work. We had a program here called Youth Opportunities Unlimited. Of course, the funding was cut, but I would have young people have summer jobs in City Hall, and they worked in the building department with the record retention, pulling permits. But it is time that you're building. It's a building career. It's taking course. It's always learning. I sit on probably 12 boards, not because I want to sit on 12 boards, but it's feel like I'm going to class. Like I just switch out notebooks and keep my book bag on, whether it's sitting on the transportation board or sitting on the Global Cleveland as we're dealing with international newcomers. And so it's always learning, and it is trying to do work that's transformative or being on a team that's doing transformative work. It's enduring long hours after you've left the office. It doesn't shut down at 5 o'clock. I am the mayor and safety director. I have 60 safety officers that report to me between police and fire. And then I have public works, which is another, it's like 80, which is another 20 guys and girls. And so it's unintentional legacy building. You're not out to build a legacy, but if you do work and you take care of people, they remember you, and your work stands even administration after administration. You get to do the work and you're able to change people's lives for the better. People use the term change agent all the time. When you get to the level that I'm at, Rose and Christine, we're not agents, we're captains. We're steering the ship. We're change captains. We're not change agents. That's the long term of what a long term career looks like. You advance. And when you see yourself as captain, now you're the visionary. You're the strategic planner. You're walking and you're the cheerleader, right? You're the captain, or you're getting your team ready to win every single time. We have a winning strategy. And when we nail a big grant or develop, or I said my tagline is we're winning. And then I will say keep winning. You have to believe, because we are dealing with lateral transfers. The bigger cities pull my best officers, my SWAT officer, because they offer $15,000 more annually. And for a police officer who puts his life on the line every day, I mean, if I'm going to do this, I want to get paid as much as I can. And then there's that huge retirement benefit. You want to earn at your highest years. But do what you're naturally gifted at, what you were born to do, that purposeful life. I would never be a singer because I can't sing, but I'm firstborn, and so birth order. I'm naturally gifted in leadership. I'm a writer. I spent time on my school newspapers. I write my own proclamations, my own speeches, I do my own State of the City address. Know what your skill set is, and then align it up with what you want to do in government. And won't feel like work. It'll be passion work. And you'll do very good at it, and you will have a long career at it. And your authentic self will show up in everything that you do. Every person that you meet, they will remember what you've done, how you made them feel, because you're working from this heart, this passion, this purpose. And it's what you're naturally gifted at. And if you're a great artist, you probably should do something with art. You should probably share that gift. This is a sharing of your gift, but you've got to know what you're good at and be honest about what you're not good at. If you don't like working with people, if you're easily offended with criticism because everything's my fault, this isn't a job for you. You've got to be honest with yourself, do what you're good at, and you will have a long-term career in this space. As I mentioned, when I finish in 27, I will have done 12 years, but I've been asked to run for several higher offices 3 or 4 times. I have to make up my mind what I want to do, because I've built this career starting in 2016. I took office, never having been in office, that's impactful, that people remember. It's been legacy building, not intentional, unintentional, because this is what I'm really good at. I came from working in property tax at one of the largest accounting firms in the world. So I did my own economic development for 5 years because I didn't have a budget. You're in fiscal emergency. They're not going to let you pay $80,000 salary to somebody doing economic. You do it yourself. So I'm safety director. I've been my own secretary. Permits in the building department. You have to understand, and you've got to be in it to win it and finish it. Not just to win it, but win it and finish it.
Wow, that is amazing. So many things that jumped out to me. One, win and keep winning. I love that. I think people get that, or not all the time. People can get that first win, but it's like, now keep winning. And I think that's a beautiful thought. And then the change captain. Obviously, a lot of the people that we're speaking to are younger, and they're getting into their career, but to know that as they advance and as they keep moving up, that they can be that change captain, but they can also take that mindset into the role that they're in now, being the change captain at the level that you're at, because your leadership and your ability to view things and your viewpoint is important, and have that captain attitude, even no matter where you're at. And then the last thing I heard was alignment. And I think that is big. You have to know what your skill sets are, what your why is. And especially for young people, that may take 10 internships, that may take 100 coffee chats, but figuring out your why and what you're good at, and then aligning that to whether that is local government, city or state government, or it's somewhere else. But the great thing that I know about government is you can take those skill sets and apply them accordingly. So thank you, Mayor Blackwell. Christine, I wanted to send you a student question. This is, and again on the name, I believe Tajan from Columbus. How do you get started in public works in a city like Columbus? And what does that path look like to turn that into a full-time stable career?
Perfect. Thank you. I love this question Tejan, let me know if I didn't say your name correctly as well. But Tejan, this is a really great question, and I don't think it's never too early to start thinking about how you can get involved. I would say the biggest things that you can do: number one, network. Try to have coffee meetings, meet with elected officials, public servants, community leaders, nonprofit professionals, network with anybody that you can. Oftentimes they will open doors to you for opportunities that you would have never thought existed before, especially when it comes to different types of jobs in the public sector that you might not know exists. And similar to what Mayor Blackwell was saying, oftentimes people will also be able to identify what your strengths are and help align your strengths with the things that you could be doing. So networking is really key in this industry. Number two, be persistent, keep following up, keep fighting for what you believe in. I know it's cheesy, but it's extremely important that we show up every day and we show up authentically and fully. And then three, be intentional with your follow-up. I am a big fan of handwritten thank yous. I am a big fan of connecting on LinkedIn. So make sure that you are being intentional with that follow-up, following people on social media, sending them thank yous, sending them follow-up emails. And one of the things that you can do to really stand out is if you ever see an article or a book or something happens in your day that makes you think of someone, always feel free to send it to them. They might be not able to respond right away, or they might not have the capacity to reply, but it shows that you are thinking of them and that you're being intentional with your networking, that you're being persistent, and that you're being intentional with your follow-up. So those are my 3 pieces of advice.
Wow. Thank you, Christine. I think that is so important into any arena, but especially into local government and state government as well. Networking. People hate that. Like they kind of say it as like almost a nasty word at times. But when you're doing it intentionally, and I like that. I was taking notes. Somebody said they were taking notes on the call. I'm taking notes right now. Yeah, I just saw this article. It made me think of a conversation that we had, or it made me think of you. I know you've had to make decisions on similar things like this. That is natural and it's authentic. So I think, anybody can get afraid become afraid of the word of networking, but what you were describing is more authentic communication. And if you think of it like that, that kind of takes the edge off of it a little bit. So thank you for sharing that. I was like, those are good tips. And last but not least, again, Rose, I have Tabitha from Dallas, Texas. So I get about two miles away. So you can take it in as if it were Paris as well. But she says, for someone in Dallas interested in city planning, community services, or parks, what are the most accessible entry level roles, and how can students build the connections they need to break in?
Great question. I love it. And I hate to go back to my last answer, but I would say, well, first of all, for some of those things like planning, it does really help to get a degree. And so while you're getting a degree, internships, I agree with Mayor Blackwell, or before you decide which one of those you want to do, any type of internship you could do so that you can find out if it's something that you really like doing. Because once you get in there, if you do go get that education and it's not something you truly enjoy, I mean, that's, it's hard. It's very specialized, some of those things. So like planning field, we do need a master planner here at the city of Paris, and that's a master's degree. So good thing with internships. I'm totally all for those. I agree with the mayor, and I believe Representative Cockley talked about that as well. So finding which path forward by maybe getting your feet wet working in those offices. A lot of times too, they will just have entry level jobs. What those are called really vary from city to city. So it's kind of hard to say. There's jobs in the planning department though with permitting and all sorts of things. So I think just getting in there, and as I've said before, really if you want to work anywhere, you can pretty much find a job in a smaller town. Starting out. Is the pay going to be as much? Maybe not, but the experience is worth everything. And as you said earlier, Mr. Mason, I love that because it's like, when you're in a small town, you're going to wear 100 hats. And that's so much better for your experience than starting in a certain pigeonholed role in a big community. For example, when I'll go back to my first job in Minnesota, I had to be the planner. I don't have a planning degree. So I had to work with a planner from the cities, and I learned so much. So now, as a city manager, all those things I had to be there in that small community helped me to understand all of the big roles that we pay experts to do here in a bigger community. So getting your foot in the door in a smaller place can give you experience that can help you to understand where you really fit and where you want to go. And at the parks department, you could even start working as at the concession stand. I mean, there's always an in a job somewhere. And we actually had somebody in Kentucky who started that way and now has been working at the city for, I think, 25, 26 years. She started in concessions and now she's the HR manager. So you never know, but she will retire from that town. So finding your way in anywhere and then moving around as you go. I think Mayor Blackwell said that sort of in a probably more eloquent way. She's a beautiful speaker, but it really does help. You know what I mean? It just get your foot in the door and you'll start to see all the wide things that cities have to offer and all the different paths you can take. And then moving laterally or in between those roles is a lot more easy once you just get your foot in the door.
Rose, thank you. I think that is beautifully stated, and so true. You spoke of the person from Kentucky that started in concessions. I'll even go another example. The city manager and Ackworth, he started lining the fields at 18 for the football fields, and now is the city manager. So just get your foot in the door, in whatever that way. Obviously, in certain things you said like you do need a specific degree for, but I think just getting that exposure is most important to see what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, and what gets you fired up. So I appreciate it, and first off, before we close, I just want to say thank you all, especially coming into today, taking your time to pour into the next generation of leaders. I really just want to say thank you. And the last thing, I want to open up the floor to anyone. If there is any last words, any comments for young people that you want to state, feel free to jump in. But even without that, this has been a wealth of knowledge, and I truly appreciate it. But I did want to just open the floor if anybody wanted to say anything.
Thank you so much for having us, Jonathan. This has been wonderful. And I think just my final sign off is show up as yourself fully and authentically and just keep being you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, yes, Mayor Blackwell, for sure.
I will just say I have enjoyed so much meeting the two women that I'm sharing the screen with today. I knew I had to get better. I had my holiday lighting ceremony. I think the story will drive home last night. And then I also had the Christmas tree in the gazebo. I was out decorating it myself because I had an employee who had a temper tantrum and said she just wasn't going to decorate the tree. So I decorated the tree myself. So I was out there Friday, and then last night was the ceremony. And I think I've just gotten sick and worn myself out. So it's just nice to be recognized and have someone like yourself, Jonathan, reach out to me. I'm not sure how you came upon me for me to be able to talk in safe spaces and share what I've been able to share. And then meet two women on a call that I don't know, but I just feel so connected to. And I just want to encourage the young people on the call. Just because the position doesn't look like you doesn't mean you don't belong. People told me I didn't belong. I've been the outsider because I didn't follow the rules of being on council first, and it wasn't my turn. We choose our turn, and I believe that we are all called to a purposeful life. I had no desire. The questions that are being asked are saying, how do I get in local government? I wasn't interested in local government. Never saw mayor. I was doing very, very well at the accounting firm and was going to be hopefully, a manager and do very well. But this job came to me because I saw a need, and everyone on this call has talked about the need and why they're doing what they do, their call and their commitment to public service, and the many, many thousands and thousands of people that we serve. It sounds so cliche, but sometimes we are the people to demand the change, secure the change, and execute the. I've solved the issue in some ways of changing the perception about Maple Heights. I say this, and I hope this stays with you. When I became the mayor a decade ago, they said that we were too dirty. There's trash everywhere. We were too dark, meaning the people of color here, and too dangerous because crime only exists in Maple Heights. So I also have to be the public relations agent. You have power, and I hope that people in this call will consider the power they have and not look for someone else to fix it, but to be the fixer themselves.
Thank you so much. Yeah, what is it? Be the change you want to see in the world, and it starts with you. So thank you so much, Mayor Blackwell. Rose, any final words?
We'll just say again, thank you to everybody on this call. You are all wonderful, and I appreciate sharing space with you all very much. And as everyone has said in some way or another, we're serving because we get something out of giving back to our community. You cannot change the world, and we always feel somewhat helpless by that. I know we see things happening in the world that are overwhelming, but you can make a difference in the community that you live in. And by working in local government, you do have that opportunity, and you do pay a price for it. I mean, we get criticized. People don't understand that I have a group full of beautiful, wonderful, smart, hardworking people that are working every day to make a better quality of life for this community with very limited resources. Sometimes I don't even know how my staff comes to work every day. So with such optimism, and they just come back for more, they're really giving back, and we need the future generations to understand that we need them. This is important work. And so thank you, Jonathan, for having us here today to talk to them. And I just appreciate everyone who hears this call, and I hope that they'll find something inside them that gets sparked to service as well.
Thank you, Rose. Yeah, I love how you put the bow on it. We get something back from giving, and it does come at a cost. And to be frank with people, there will be things that you may encounter or things you have to go through, or as Mayor Blackwell say, you might have to give up that work-life balance every now and again. But the gift that you receive is that much better when you're truly impacting people's lives, and that is a perfect segue for me. Again, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being on this call. As when I speak to each and one of you separately, I learn so much, but together and in hearing you guys work together, I've learned even more. And I truly appreciate it. And to all the viewers, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you coming out to learn. And thank you to all those that provided questions. And again, I'm Jonathan Mason, the host of the Jentry Podcast, and I am joined by Mayor Blackwell, Representative Cockley, and Rose, City Manager of Paris, Texas. Thank you all. This has been the Jentry Future Leaders Panel, and we will speak to you soon. Have a great one.